Quindi buon pomeriggio a tutti, ringrazio ovviamente gli organizzatori
Good afternoon.
questo gradito
I
invito.
thank the organizers
Vediamo, eccolo
for the
qua.
invitation.
Quindi quello che vi propongo di fare in questi minuti è quello di darvi rapidamente
I will
un'idea dello stato
give
dell'arte
you
di Xylella fastidiosa, che
an idea about the state of the art of Xylella fastidiosa. Xylella fastidiosa was detected more than 10 years ago in the fall 2013
sulla costa
when on the Ionian coast of region of Apulia, near a town which is called Gallipoli, which is a nice place for tourists in the summer. Well, in the proximity of that town, a devastating epidemic occurred affecting olive growing in the area. And after a few months, a quarantine bacterium was identified, Xylella fastidiosa, and it was the first finding, the first open field finding of Xylella fastidiosa in Europe. Till that time, Xylella fastidiosa was known for its damages in the America. Pierce's disease affecting viticulture in North America with all the damages. And the American colleagues in California, the impact of Pierce's disease exceeds $100 million. After 12 years from that first finding in Puglia, the situation has become much more complex than at the start. In the area of Gallipoli, 8 million hectares were already affected by the bacterium, while now, as you may appreciate from this map, central Apulia, southern Apulia, and central Apulia are affected by the subspecies Pauca of Xylella, which attacks olive trees. And in the central part, 1 year ago, other two subspecies were identified, two subspecies of Xylella, multiplex and fastidiosa. And very recently, no more than 4 months ago, a very small outbreak was identified also in the northern part of Puglia on one olive tree. Let me say that subspecies Pauca, which attacks olive trees, was found as a result of the phytosanitary investigations that were started as a result of the devastating pathology affecting olive groves. At that time, that subspecies was found. The other subspecies were reported not because of field plots were affected, but they were the result of the annual monitorings that were made mandatory for all European Union member states and for all regions across Europe. As a consequence of this monitoring, so after 11 years, the scenario has profoundly changed with respect to 12 years ago. As you see from this map, Xylella fastidiosa has been found in many other locations, especially along the coast, along the Mediterranean coasts, in the Mediterranean islands. And 11 out of the 90 strains of Xylella fastidiosa are known to be present in Europe. So topic of today is also climate change. Now, these outbreaks overlap the climate suitability maps estimated for Xylella fastidiosa. Well, it means that all the findings, all the outbreaks are located in areas which have a high or moderate risk for the spread of Xylella fastidiosa, and I'm referring to the geographical areas which show a higher risk of Xylella fastidiosa spread. For Puglia, with the climate which is fit for Xylella fastidiosa is also the region which has been more devastated by the bacterium in the open field. As I was saying before, this species, Xylella fastidiosa, includes strains belonging to at least 3 different subspecies. As if from a practical point of view, the same name, Xylella fastidiosa, include different pathogens because multiplex strains have pathological characteristics which are very different from the other 2 subspecies. And I give an example. What does it mean? It's as if we had 3 different species. Palka ravages olive trees, but it is not able to infect the grapevine, the vineyards, whereas fastidiosa, which is the agent of the Pierce's disease, is not able to infect the olive trees. So from the point of view of control strategies that should be considered as different pests. Also from the climate point of view, climate conditions differ. The first map is the one for multiplex. Multiplex which has lower thermal needs, whereas Palka seems to be is more demanding in terms of climate conditions, and the area with a higher risk, if you remember the map I showed you before, and here on the left, the area is smaller than the area of multiplex. So multiplex obliged us to demarcate 40% of the region of Puglia. The surface infected by the bacterium stretches 160 kilometers from the north to the south, an area where now there are only 25 million olive trees out of the 60 million olive trees which are scattered throughout Puglia. Another outbreak was reported in the north of Puglia, in the northern part of the region. And what is interesting to notice is that the infected plant was found in an olive growing area. It was found in April, and after April, the phytosanitary service launched a very strict monitoring program to understand the spread of the infection. And luckily, after the analysis of more than 8,000 plants, only the first olive tree was infected. This means that unlike Gallipoli, where the epidemic, the spread of the bacterium was very, very rapid, well, here in the northern part, the bacterium seems to be isolated only in one plant. And this must be associated with the climate. If we give a look at the maps connected to the climate, immediately, this area falls within an area with a medium to low risk. And this confirms the importance of the climate-based risk maps. The impact caused by this bacterium, and I'm sure you know, the impact of this bacterium is huge. About the number of trees, we do not have an inventory, but at the end of 2017, on the basis of satellite image analysis, at the end of 2017, 6.5 million olive trees were definitely compromised. There are about 20 to 20 million trees which have been destroyed by Xylella. And from the economic point of view, some economists, a couple of months ago, a publication was issued by analyzing real data from farms turnovers. In the south of Puglia, where the epidemic was more devastating, they made a comparison between 5 years before Xylella, 2008 to 2012, and 2017, 2021, and the loss of income is of about 121 million euros per year. And this is in line with the risk maps. And over the last 6 years, the northwards spread that was very rapid from 2013 to 2018. But then the spread after 2018, the spread was very, very slow. From 2018 to date, in the area in yellow on the right, well, that is another small area where Xylella has been reported in the last 5 years. But this shows the slowing down of the spread of Xylella due to what? One of the causes, one of the hypotheses is the climate which is slightly different, which is slightly less fit for the bacterium. There's also a different management of soils or plots with a more timely application of containment measures, with a better organized monitoring, removal of infected plants and the buffer zones, the mandatory vector control, measures to slow down the spread of the epidemic of Xylella. And as a result, the population of vectors is also reduced. About multiplex, as you see here, multiplex is more frequently found across Europe and across the Mediterranean area. In Puglia, it was found 1 year ago in 2 different areas. First, in the central part of Puglia, and then also along the coast, the Adriatic coast, not very far from Bari. And unlike Pauca, it was found simply because it was searched. Important severe damages have not been reported yet with this strain, which is called ST26, the only one in Europe. And if you give a look at these maps, the borders for the spread of this strain have not been identified yet, because some positives are found at the outskirts of the buffer zone through the monitoring. So this means that this is a strain that dates back to a decade, but since its impact has never been significant, it has never been reported. The bacterium is not reported from irrigated almond trees. The almond is the main host. Infected plants are almond trees, but it is never present in irrigated almond orchards. For rain-fed almond orchards, we can notice symptoms that cannot be discriminated from the symptoms induced by climate-related stress in the region. They also repurpose in the greenhouse where conditions are not stressful. So to conclude about multiplex, no severe pathological expressions have been reported. Multiplex has been found after a huge surveillance program. In Puglia, in 10 to 11 years, more than 1,200,000 plants have been submitted to a DNA analysis. However, The EU regulation is very, very stringent, comparable to the regulation about PALCA, which means that if it is applied, literally applied, it might even cause damages exceeding the damages induced by the bacterium itself. The subspecies fastidiosa was also found in the province of Bari. In this case, the finding, the presence, it seems it has been recently introduced. And we think this bacterium is rapidly spreading. We do not have indications about the impact of this bacterium here in the area of Bari. In a few months, over 45,000 plants have been analyzed. Red sickles are the positives. The outbreak is quite well demarcated because all around there are 2.5 kilometers where no infected plants have been found. An eradication program is going on. And does it have an impact? We don't know it yet. Based on some preliminary observations, results are not very encouraging. This is a vineyard aged 4 years of a seedless variety, which is called Superiore. Last year, the bacterium was found, and in 1 year, you see on the left, Xylella positive plants and negative plants on the right. That picture was taken last October. Well, with totally dried plants and partially desiccated plants, well, 27% of the plants have dried up. The preliminary tests and the screen also for the severity screening are not very encouraging. This is an example of a variety which is called Baresana. 12 weeks after inoculation, the non-inoculated control in the middle, and on both sides, the 2 infected controls. One very last piece of information. A eradication trial is going on. Should it fail, here in the area of Bari, there is a very interesting condition from the epidemiological point of view, which becomes a case study, because we have a strain of fastidiosa and a strain of multiplex, which coexist. So what happens? Well, sometimes what happens? It happens that with some colleagues from Spain, in the southern part of the island of Mallorca, where fastidiosa was reported in 2017, and where multiplex thrives, the incidence of Pierce's disease is lower than the rest of the island where multiplex prevails. So it means that multiplex, which has no impact on the crop, could in the future be considered to protect, to limit the spread of very dangerous strains of the bacterium. As I was saying, we have a very stringent regulation which was based on the findings of 12 years ago. This is why it is so stringent for all the subspecies. But in the light of the latest findings, we should apply tailored management strategies, adjust the case by case, which means that we should maybe review the EU regulation. Thank you.